Hello and welcome to West Country Wanderings. Welcome to one of my Somerset series. Well, it's not actually an official Somerset series, is it? My Somerset playlist. I've come here to the port of Bridgewater. No, you've never heard of it? Well, obviously you've heard of the town of Bridgewater, but there's been a port here in Bridgewater since before 1200 AD. This here is the River Parrett, a tidal river runs through the heart of the town. Very interesting area here. And I've just walked past King's Square, which I think would have been where the wealthy merchants area would have been, with some older warehousing. I'm going to follow the line of the River Parrett till it joins up with the Taunton and Bridgewater Canal. So I hope you can join me again here on West Country Wanderings around the port of Bridgewater. Now, this magnificent crane that's behind me here was a 19th century crane used for hauling. You can see there, I'll do a wider shot of it in a second. Hauling goods out of the tidal River Parrett into the quayside that's behind me. And it was restored in 2004, an important reminder of the trade that once took place here in Bridgewater. Now, this building here is the Lion's House. It gives an indication of Bridgewater's wealthy trading past, and it was built by Benjamin Holloway for his own use in 1725. So this is Bridgewater Docks, or the Port of Bridgewater, which first started when the town of Bridgewater was granted a charter in the year 1200. This is also the point where the Bridgewater and Taunton Canal meets the River Parrett. But the port was here a long time before the canal was, utilising the tidal and deep nature of the River Parrett, which flows into the Bristol Channel. In 1841, one Thomas Maddox was commissioned to build a floating harbour here in the heart of Bridgewater, the remnants of which you see here today. The port imported things like coal, but also from much further afield across the continent, things like wine from France and glass from Italy, as well as exporting coal to other parts of the United Kingdom. Now you may be thinking that those look like railway gates. Well, the port here was rail served. In fact, earlier on I walked across a bridge which almost certainly was a former railway, or carried a railway into the docks here. And there, just on the left of the screen, would have been the main entrance to the port when it was at its height. Lots of clues here. That looks like another former railway gate there with the spear-headed fencing. And this area would have been once crisscrossed, lots of lines that served the docks here in Bridgewater. And this building here now, which is the Admiral's Landing Free House and offices, was once a storage warehouse. And here what looks like more railway gating, probably to open and close the yard off. Just love this anchor here, which has been restored. Now the floating harbour part that you see here was once used as a marina. You can see all the pontoons laid out, but it has been derelict for a few years now. I think that's to do with the lock gates between the harbour and the River Parrett, which don't look in a great state at all. And there are plans to completely redevelop this site. In fact, where we've seen this has happened previously in places like Gloucester and Portishead, the effect of that transformation can uplift an entire town. Now, just in the centre of the screen is where Bridgewater and Taunton Canal enters what is this floating harbour here, Bridgewater Port. The canal was opened in 1827, but it wasn't until it was extended in 1841 that it actually joined Bridgewater Port here. But in doing so, it enormously boosted the trade of the canal and the port. Also in the centre of the screen is the former Bowring's Animal Feeds warehouse, which was one of the last users of Bridgewater Port. Now you might be surprised to see the England coast path here in inland Somerset, Bridgewater, but that's because of the River Parrett. River Parrett, deep tidal river, makes its way into the Bristol Channel, and there's no way across that to follow the edge of the Bristol Channel around into West Somerset and Minehead. So the coast path here comes inland right into the town. Now though the towpath is walkable all the way from Bridgewater to Taunton, some 14 miles or so, it has to be said that the locks and some of the canal, this section which is looked after by the Canals and River Trust, is in rather a poor condition currently. There is though a delightful lift bridge here where the canal meets the port. Now sadly, we've seen a lot of time, the railway, GWR railway, with its extensive dot network here in Bridgewater, took away a lot of the trade away from the Taunton to Bridgewater Canal. Originally it was planned to provide a link from Bristol down to the south coast, utilising also the Grand Western Canal, wonderful canal, which now terminates in the town of Tiverton in mid-Devon, somewhere which we have covered and I will return to again here on the old Canal series. But it's wonderful to have this legacy, lots of history still around here in Bridgewater. Just outside Bowrings looks like this old weighbridge made by Avery from Birmingham. So it does have a forlorn air about it today, but it'd be lovely to see it completely restored with leisure craft on it again and accessible to the River Parrett. Now behind here, where this housing estate, which was built in 1995, was once Crope Hill Coal Yard, and here on railway wagons from both South Wales and the Forest of Dean was a central distribution point for the entirety of the South West. It was owned by Solly and Company, and it was also the last place of Brunel's broad gauge rails after he converted all of his mainline and branch line from broad gauge to normal gauge, standard gauge. This here, behind this wall, as I say now, a housing estate, was where the last vestiges of his broad gauge rails left. But this was an important place for the distribution of coal throughout the entirety of the southwest region. Incredible. Now, just the other side of the river there, centre left of the screen, is a triangular shaped building, and I wouldn't mind betting that's an old kiln. Now, once upon a time, Bridgewater was famous for its tiles, and I think that's possibly where they were manufactured. In fact, if you look up in some of the buildings, particularly around King Square, you can see them. Currently looking at Bridgewater Barge Lock, which is the main lock between the River Parrett on the right and Bridgewater Port and also the Taunton-Bridgewater Canal. A long time it was known as the Bridgewater Barge Lock, but it was renamed as the Oakley Barge Lock in the honour of one Ronald Oakley, who lived from the 23rd of November 1917 and sadly died the 8th of April 2004. He was a dedicated campaigner for the waterways, not just in the United Kingdom, but worldwide. Wonderful to have it named in his honour. And it was around here that once stood Bridgewater's castle. Sadly no more. Beautiful streets around this part of Bridgewater, a lot of character and history. The site of the castle is this incredible building, which is Castle House, built in 1842 by a local Bridgewater man. It's possibly the oldest building in the world. It's made out of prefabricated concrete. It was saved from demolition in 2018 and 2019 was restored by a grant. This building here is Bridgewater Art Centre, Grade 1 listed building. In fact, it's the first art centre in the United Kingdom, opened in 1946. So with the former railway bridge and the River Parrot here in Bridgewater in Somerset. That's it for today. Hope you enjoyed this little tour of the former Bridgewater Port and a little bit of the Taunton and Bridgewater Canal, which we will return to. I do hope to do the entire walk from Taunton and Bridgewater, looking at the amazing locks and the other fascinating things that canal has to offer. Until then, take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, and I hope to see you on the channel again very soon. All the best for now. Cheers. Goodbye.